welcome to Sakai Lesson Builder training hosted by Brutus Partners. My name's Kara, and I've been working with Sakai since right around 2006. And I can still see that a lot of folks are still kind of trying to join the webinar. So while we wait for everybody to arrive, I'd like to spend a little bit of time getting to know everybody who's already on the call. And I'd like to do that by just kind of asking everyone a couple of questions, and then having you raise your hand using the Raise Your Hand tool in the GoToWebinar console. So I think the first thing that I would like to know from everybody is whether or not you can actually hear me. So if you can hear me, would you please raise your hand using the GoToWebinar hand raising tool? I see a couple of hands going up. This is also a trick to teach everybody how to use the Raise Your Hand tool. So looks like a couple of folks can hear me at least, so that's good news. I think a couple of folks are still kind of looking for the Raise Your Hand tool, which is totally fine. This is just kind of designed to get you familiar with the GoToWebinar console. Well, I guess, oh yeah, looks like lots of hands are raising now. That's fantastic. All right, I'm going to put the hands down so you can stop raising your hands. I'll go ahead and put them down for you. I see there are 24 people on the webinar right now, and we had 72 sign up. So I do want to wait just a couple of minutes for everybody to join. So for those of us who are already here, we'll just ask some more questions. I'm going to share my screen next, and what I would like to do is verify that everybody is able to see my screen. So if you are able to see my screen, could you just raise your hand again for me? Let me know that you can see my screen. I'm sharing a Sakai instance right now. And there went all the hands. Okay, good, cool. So let me put everybody's hands back down again. And I guess I'll ask another question. If you have been using Sakai for more than 5 years, can you raise your hand? We've got 26 people on the line now, and it looks like 27, nope, 30% of you, some hands are going up and down right now, so it looks like 7 of you have been using Sakai for more than 5 years. 8 of you have been using Sakai for more than 5 years. Cool, so we've got some experienced Sakai users on the line. All right, so if you have been using Sakai for more than 2 years, raise your hand. And if you answered that first question about the 5 years, I guess you can go ahead and raise your hand again too. That's fine if you want. So okay, yeah, wow, look at all those hands going up. So about 46% of you, 13 out of 28 have been using Sakai for more than 2 years. Cool. Okay, I'm going to put the hands down again. So your hands back down. If you've been using Sakai for more than 6 months, raise your hand. Here go the hands. Okay, we're up to 13 out of 29, so that's good. And we've got 29 folks on the webinar. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to put the hands down, and I'll ask another question. Raise your hand if this is the first webinar that you have ever attended. Okay, we've got 2 out of 29. Fantastic. Okay, so I hope, but I think what's great about that is that those who are attending a webinar for the first time have already figured out how to raise their hand, so that's awesome. Okay, I'm going to put the hands down. All right, another question. Who has ever been to a Sakai conference? Here come the hands, 9, 10, 11, back down to 9. All right. So quite a few of you. We've got 30 folks on the line now, so that's fantastic. All right, so I think those are all of the questions that I have, and we're about to get started. I'll share with you that everyone on the line right now is muted, and so I do want to give you the opportunity to ask questions. So if you do have questions, please feel free to add those questions into the questions area of the GoToMeeting console. So I actually get a little notification every time a question comes in, though I don't typically stop what I'm doing every time I see a question. I will periodically, stop talking and take a look at that questions queue. And if I see a question that needs to be answered out loud, then I'll answer it out loud. Or if it's a question that I need to just type an answer to, I'll probably hang out for a couple of minutes at the end of the webinar and type out those answers to the questions. I also wanted to share with everybody that this one time that I was doing a webinar, my audio went out and stopped working. And so I spent about 10 minutes presenting to people who couldn't actually hear what I was saying. So if that actually happens, and if you guys aren't able to hear me, would you just go ahead and start blasting notes into that questions queue so that my little icon can bounce up and down a whole bunch of times, and I'll know that there's something wrong, and I'll take a look and figure out what to do with the audio. It's typically just a matter of me having to dial back in, and that has, like I said, only happened once, and I've done a lot of these. So, all right, looks like we've got 32 folks on the line right now, and so I'm going to go ahead and get started with the slideshow. I'm not going to spend too much time with PowerPoint today because I'm not a huge fan of using PowerPoint, but it is an effective tool to kind of help me remember what I'm actually supposed to say. So we're going to spend about 90 minutes today kind of first showing you what a student might experience when they're using Sakai's Lesson Builder. And then we're also going to spend quite a bit of time taking a look at how to build a course using Lesson Builder from an instructor's perspective. So I've got some demo materials that I'm going to use. I'm also going to use this PowerPoint, and I'm going to be kind of toggling back and forth among PowerPoint and demo materials, as well as my browser window where I have my Sakai instance. And so you're going to see a lot of flipping around. I do want to share with you that I am recording this session, and I will be posting the recording of this session at the Brutus Partners website whenever I get a chance to get it up. These things take a little bit of time to kind of process and upload, but I would say sometime within the next 24 to 48 hours you'll be able to access this recording on the Brutus Partners website. I am just going to double check and verify that the recording is working, and it looks like it is, so that's great news. And so here we go, I guess. This is intended to be kind of a fast-paced training because, essentially I kind of assume that everyone here has at least some experience with Sakai. And so if I do go too fast, or if you have a question about anything, as I said before, please feel free to add those questions or comments into the questions queue. So before I start showing you the demo, I want to talk a little bit about Sakai's Lesson Builder tool. And the first thing I wanted to do was thank Rutgers for contributing that tool to the course Sakai Code. I think Rutgers has actually been using the Lesson Builder tool in production since mid to late 2010, and if Rutgers is on the line, you can feel free to correct me if that's incorrect, but I think that's true. And that's, in fact, when I first heard about Lesson Builder. It wasn't until about, I would say, a year and a half ago that I was approached by a school who was interested in using Lesson Builder to perform some training on Lesson Builder. So that caused me to actually, play with, experiment with, and learn Lesson Builder and how it's used and so forth. And I will say that within the last year and a half, Lesson Builder has come really far, and there are a lot of new features in it that I kind of had to learn again before I could teach this class. Lesson Builder is something that you should not confuse with the Melete Lesson Builder. So there are actually two tools in Sakai that you can use to build and sequence content, and Melete is one of those tools, and that was a tool that was built by I think the Etudes project as part of, at that time, Foothills College in California. So this training today is not about the Melete Lesson Builder. Today's training is about the Rutgers Lesson Builder. Or the Sakai Lesson Builder, as I should say, because it is part of the Sakai code. So it's a tool that you can use in course projects and portfolio sites, and the tool is creating a lot of excitement and buzz in the Sakai community. I know that the teaching and learning group in the Sakai community is spending quite a bit of time focusing on this tool and what it does, and learning more about it, and offering enhancement suggestions and so forth. So if you're interested in taking part in that type of activity, then please feel free to join the Sakai teaching and learning group. Okay, so before I can show you what an instructor experiences with Lesson Builder, I would like to show you what a student might experience using lessons or a course that was built using Sakai's Lesson Builder. So now I'm going to toggle over to my Sakai instance and log in as a student. And I'm just going to check in to my GoToMeeting console just to make sure that everybody can hear me. I don't see anything bouncing, so nope, there are no questions in the GoToMeeting console, so that's great. Okay, so I've actually got two different courses to share with you today. The first one is Accounting 301 and the other one is Accounting 302. So in Accounting 301 then, from my student perspective, when I click on this course, as you know, in Sakai, the tool set for your courses typically appear on the left-hand side of the screen. For those of you who have horizontal menus, you might see the tools for your course appearing across the top of the screen. But I used the page order helper tool actually to move all of my Lesson Builder pages up towards the top of my Sakai tool set. So as you can see here, I've got some units, and these units that appear as tools on the left-hand side of the screen are actually top-level Lesson Builder pages. And so from a student perspective then, I can just start clicking on these units and see what's actually on those pages, and those pages are built using the Lesson Builder tool. I'm going to say that I'm a student that wants to just skip to the end and see what happens. And so as a student, I'm clicking on this Unit 4, but look what just happened. I got yelled at. I got yelled at because I am not allowed to access Unit 4 right now, and that's because my instructor has built some prerequisites to accessing Unit 4, which means as a student I need to complete these first 3 units before I can access Unit 4, and Sakai is telling me this here, or Lesson Builder is telling me this here. So that I would have the same experience if I were to try to access Unit 3. So I'm getting yelled at again because what I'm supposed to do is engage with these units and with these pages in the proper order. So I guess that means from my student perspective that I'm going to have to start with Unit 1. And so essentially what has happened here is, as a student, I've clicked on this, what appears to be a Sakai tool on the left-hand side, and then the page is displaying a Lesson Builder page on which my instructor has built content. And so my instructor has built some text content. My instructor has embedded a video, and so maybe as part of my class I'm supposed to watch a video as part of each unit, and so maybe as a student I could watch that video. This is actually something that came from YouTube, but you can actually embed video from other types of websites that host video files. As well, you can upload video files and have Lesson Builder play those files too. So my instructor has also on this particular page required that I submit some sort of assignment. And so using other tools in Sakai or other content presentation tools in Sakai, one might expect that the student would, at this point, have to roll their mouse over to the left-hand side of the screen and click on the Assignments tool and find the right assignment that they're supposed to complete and then complete the assignment. But with Lesson Builder, you can actually embed entities like assignments. And so my student here can just click on the link to the assignment, and this actually takes the student to the very assignment that they're supposed to complete, but they still have the Lesson Builder navigation tools up at the top. So if I'm not ready to do my assignment, I can go right back to the lesson page that I was at. There's also a back and a next button that helps me navigate among pages, but I'll just say that I'm going to go ahead and complete this assignment, and I should really purchase that app that I keep using so I can get rid of that obnoxious pop-up every time I try to type some text. So I'll submit my assignment by clicking the Submit button, and then at this point, once my assignment's submitted, I can click Return to Lesson, and I'm taken right back to the place that I came from. I didn't get lost. So being able to embed assignments is one of the cool features of Lesson Builder, as well as embedding media and adding text onto a page. So something else I can do as a student is engage with other students on the content page that my instructor has built for me. So I can read that, you know, another student had something to say about the assignment or about the content that my instructor has built. And so maybe at this point I'll type something like, I agree, and I'll submit the comment. And so now I have started interacting with other people in my course right from these Lesson Builder content pages. So that's what one page might look like in Lesson Builder. And you know, I'll share with you that most of the content pages look the same. I did that just because, you know, well, you'll see in a little bit when I show you how instructors can build content in pages and so forth. But most of the content pages look the same, but the required submissions down towards the bottom of the page are all different. And this is just to kind of illustrate all of the cool and interesting things you can cause your students to do directly from your Lesson Builder pages. So from here, on this page, you know, I have those objectives, and so here I am being a student, and I'm reading what I'm supposed to read, and I'm watching what I'm supposed to watch, and then I am interacting in some way with content by performing an activity or completing an assessment. And in this case, I'm being required to go participate in a discussion forum. And so much like that assignments link that we saw earlier, the students can be provided with a link to a topic inside of the forums tool, at which point I can start a new thread, or I could just respond to somebody else's thread and start having a conversation within my forums tool. So once I'm done with that, of course, I can go right back to the lesson that I was accessing. I'm actually going to just click this here. Looked like my computer was a little bit slow for a second there. And so at this point, I might move on to the next item in the sequence. So we'll pretend again that my student has, you know, looked at some objectives, they've looked at some content, and now my student is being required to complete an assessment. And this link is a link that actually takes the student to an assessment that was built using the Test and Quizzes tool. And so if you can imagine having, you know, multiple content pages in Lesson Builder, you can embed all sorts of cool and interesting things. And, you know, essentially you have this sort of core Lesson Builder tool that, you know, doesn't allow the students to get lost. They can always come back to whatever it is they were accessing before they engaged in some type of activity. So I'll submit my test, and then once I get a confirmation to submit, I can go back to my lesson. And we're going to move on to the last page, which of course has something different and cool and interesting at the bottom of the page. This is an opportunity for your students to build their own content using the Lesson Builder tool. So if, for example, as part of the unit objectives, you would like to see that students were able to commute verbally and in writing, and you want them to prove that they've done so by creating their own page using Lesson Builder, they can certainly do that, and the students will have a limited tool set that will allow them to actually build content right onto a page. And so this user, Cal Elijah, is going to build some content, and he is going to add a cool video of Ashton Kutcher's Teen Choice Awards speech. So we'll grab the URL for that. We'll wait patiently for YouTube to catch up with me. Well, maybe I'll just grab the URL from the top. I think this will work too. I don't think you have to click share to get the right URL. So we'll go ahead and save. And maybe you do. So sorry about that. I'm having some issues with, it looks like YouTube or my internet or something. So I hope you'll believe that a student is allowed, in fact, to embed multimedia content onto a page. It looks like I just can't do that right now. But at any rate, that is just another type of activity that students can kind of engage in. So in addition to, you know, getting linked out to assignments and quizzes and forums. Students can build their own pages, and in fact, within Lesson Builder, you as the instructor can actually grade student work on pages, and you can also grade comments that students add to each other's pages. So I am going to stop for just a second and check the question queue to see if there are any questions so far. I am going to show you one more sort of sample of how a student might experience Lesson Builder within the Accounting 302 course demo, but I am going to take a look at that question queue. It looks like there are a couple of questions. One question is, are the video files uploaded to resources, folders, or elsewhere? So my answer to the direct question about this particular piece of content that I had is that I didn't upload any video files at all. I just used a YouTube link to kind of embed a YouTube video in the course that I was teaching. Regarding video files that have been uploaded to resources, you can upload the video files to resources as you are authoring multimedia, or you can just click the upload button inside of the Lesson Builder tool as you're building the content, and you'll be allowed to upload that there as well. Now, I think it is true, and I'll have to double check this to make sure that I'm telling the truth, but I think it is true that when you upload files into Lesson Builder, those files also end up in your resources tool for your course. So another question is, let me look at this first. Do the assignments embedded in Lesson Builder also only become available after completing a unit, or will they still see all the assignments in the assignments tool and also only become available on the open date? That's a great question. So what happens if you create assignments and you set restrictions on those assignments in Lesson Builder, basically saying, you know, in order to complete an assignment, you have to first view, you know, this page or that page or whatever. But well, can't the students just go to the assignments tool and complete the assignments and do it that way? And the answer to that is, yeah, they sure can. And so I think some instructors are choosing to use a tool called the Page Order Helper, which is available in the site info area to, oh, well, I can't show you this now because I'm logged in as a student, but I think instructors are using the Page Order Helper to hide the assignments tool and hide the resources tool from their students, thereby, you know, disallowing students from actually accessing those those pieces of content or those entities before they're supposed to be allowed to, and instead allowing students or forcing students basically to see those items using Lesson Builder. Oh, someone suggested reload the YouTube page. That yes, I could probably do that. I'm kind of afraid that it would play, and well, here, you know what? I'll just turn down the volume. That's a great idea. We'll just reload that YouTube page and see what happens. Okay. Thank you for that suggestion. Okay. So someone is asking about copyright on videos. If you embed a video from another site such as YouTube, will this be downloadable? Typically not. So when you're embedding content that comes from another site, the content, the video itself does not actually get downloaded into Sakai anywhere. You're essentially just having Lesson Builder build for you some embed code that allows you to play the YouTube video from within the Lesson Builder tool, but the video itself is actually still hosted at YouTube or wherever else it might have come from. Okay, so I think that's it for questions. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the Accounting 302 course, which is set up a little bit differently. So in this course, there is only one instance of the Lesson Builder tool appearing in the left navigation menu. So I have one tool or page, if you will, called Units and Lessons, and on that page I have built subpages, and on the subpages is where I actually have the content. So you can actually have subpages and sub-subpages and third-level subpages and fourth-level subpages. And so, if you have a really in-depth sort of set of content that you need to build and it needs to be very organized, then you can absolutely build that in a very nice and organized way using Lesson Builder. Now, my demo here is pretty simple. I'm just kind of showing you one level of subpage, but please know that, if I wanted to, or if my instructor wanted to, my instructor could have built multiple subpages and gone pretty deep with those subpages. So here's just another example of a Lesson Builder page and content on it and students kind of participating on the Lesson Builder page. But here we have a little asterisk, and as you'll see throughout this demo course, these asterisks indicate that it's a required item. And so in this case, in order for me as a student to move on to the next Lesson Builder page and view the content and participate in the activities on that page, what I need to do is add some type of content, or some type of comment. So there we go. So I've added a comment, and now from my student perspective, I'm going to be allowed to either use the back and next button up at the top of the page, or I can click on Index of Pages and go to the pages that I've been to already. That will help me kind of navigate around. But I've completed page 5, and so my next button should allow me to get to units. I should have said Unit 5. Should allow me to get to Unit 6. And in this case, I've got some requirements as well. I've got an assignment to complete, and I have an entry, a page entry to create. But look at this. I can't actually click on this assignment, and that's because my instructor has created prerequisites right on the very same page. And so in the last example we saw, instructors were requiring that students complete entire pages, look at a page before they were allowed to move on to the next page. But in this case, I'm actually setting various requirements on the same page. So I am not allowed to complete this assignment until I actually create my own page. You'll also notice that this page, this particular Lesson Builder page where it has student pages, indicates that these student pages are anonymous. Now, the instructor is always able to see who wrote what. That is important, especially if, as an instructor, you're going to grade these pages, which is something you can do. But the students don't know who wrote what. So they can create pages anonymously, they can comment on each other's pages, and hey, look, because I just created a page, I am now allowed to complete that assignment. And in fact, I have to submit this assignment, and we know that this assignment is required because there is a little asterisk next to it. No, I don't want to purchase that. And so once I complete the assignment, I can go back to my lesson, and I will be allowed to click the next button to move on to the next item. So these are just like two really simple sort of examples of how a student might interact with the Lesson Builder tool. And I tried to kind of smash in all of the possible things that you can build onto your Lesson Builder pages into these two courses. And so I hope at least this part of the training, which is this part of the training is actually just a demo, kind of gives you an idea of all the cool and interesting things that you can add to pages. I should share with you that I'm using the Sakai version 2.9.1 for this demonstration. The upcoming versions or the later versions of the Sakai Lesson Builder tool have, I think, two other interesting features within them. And one of those features is the ability to embed questions right onto a Lesson Builder page. And I'm talking about like little mini pop-up quiz questions, multiple choice questions that have little radio buttons, and you can actually build graded questions right onto a Lesson Builder page. You can also, in the upcoming versions of Lesson Builder, create a way for students to perform peer reviews on each other's pages. And also, as part of that peer review, you can have students complete a grading rubric for each other's pages, essentially grading each other's work. As well, students can optionally be allowed to grade their own work when they build pages using grading rubrics. So again, I'm sorry I can't show that to you today. My demo instance is not quite yet upgraded to the latest and greatest version of Lesson Builder, but please know that those are two cool and interesting features that do exist that I'm not able to show today. So I think I need to check back with my PowerPoint to see what I'm supposed to show you after we do the student demo. And so I'm done with the student demo. We're going to log in as an instructor in just a second. But first I'm going to, again, take a look at the question queue and try and answer some of the questions that came from there. It looks like some folks who have been using Lesson Builder and have been experimenting with Lesson Builder had some additional things to say. So I'm going to read those in just a second. And but first I'm going to just double check to see if there are additional questions. So let's see, if an instructor were to build a content page in Lesson Builder with a lot of text and images, is there a way to export that page to use in a different system such as SoftChalk? So I do know that you can export your Lesson Builder content in, at least in the future versions, in both like IMS content package format, as well as I think it is true that you can export your Lesson Builder content as a website. I will have to double check that just to make sure I'm absolutely correct, but I do believe that's true. Now regarding SoftChalk, the last time I saw SoftChalk was like, I think back in 2008 or 2009. So as far as I can recall, SoftChalk was just kind of building basically web content that you could upload into Sakai using a connection with the Sakai resources tool. So my answer to that is maybe you might be able to create stuff in Lesson Builder for use in SoftChalk, but I don't know the full answer to that. So there's a question about groups creating pages together. So the question is, can groups create pages together, but the other pages still be marked as anonymous? You know, I do know that the Lesson Builder tool, at least in one of the future versions, is supposed to support groups and group work and group pages. However, I have not, I'm sorry, had an opportunity to play with that, so I'm afraid I can't answer that. So we did have a couple of other suggestions and comments. Here we go. Oh, here's one from Rebecca. Rebecca says you can link to the assignments tool from lessons and hide the assignments tool. So that does work. Here's another note. You can hide resources, assignments, and forums from students, but not tests and quizzes, since students still need the tests and quizzes tool to see feedback. Ah, that's a very good point. Yep. And I think that's about it so far. Oh, here's an answer to the SoftChalk question. Another answer from Rebecca. Rebecca knows what she's doing with Lesson Builder. That's fantastic. So to add SoftChalk in 2.9 to lessons, you add a zipped SoftChalk package to resources and link to its index page. May be able to go backwards. Okay, so thanks, Rebecca, for those answers. That I think is actually helpful to the folks who asked them. So very good. Okay, so let's talk about creating a course using Lesson Builder. So well, first I'll share with you kind of the process that you'll want to undertake, and I should do that by continuing to share this slide. So one thing you'll want to make sure you do is you have all of your course materials kind of ready, and you'll at least have an idea as regards how you want to present those materials to your students. Now, you can certainly just open up Lesson Builder and start adding content to your pages, but I think it's better, at least for me, it was a lot easier to organize the pages and their structure first. And then after you've organized your pages, then you can start adding your content items and your text and your images and your assignments. And I'm kind of calling all of these things items. A lot of things can be items. So you'll see that in a minute when we look at the Lesson Builder pages. Basically what we're talking about within this tool is pages. and those pages have items on the pages. So you organize your pages, and then you build your items on your pages. And then after that, you can kind of add conditional release rules and so forth onto the items that exist on the pages. So that's kind of the process that you'll undertake. And in fact, what I'm going to do now is, I'm going to complete the exercise that is supposed to be part of this training. Now, because we only have an hour and a half for this lesson builder training, there's not enough time for everybody to log in and complete an exercise and get help with it. But I am going to give you guys access to this PowerPoint. So if you want to complete the exercise after the webinar, you're more than welcome to do that. And of course, you can feel free to email me if you have any questions. But essentially, as part of the exercise, what you'll do first as an instructor is, of course, create your course site or your Sakai course site. If you're an instructor who's already teaching using Sakai, depending on how your permissions and your Sakai system is set up, you may or may not be allowed to or have the permission to actually create your own course site. But you should at least have access to some type of course site. And if you don't have access to a Sakai course site, I will share with you some websites that you can go to so that you can at least play around with it. So you'll create a course site and you'll want to add a set of tools to it. And also, and I kind of cheated, I already did this first page of the exercise. So you'll want to create a course site and put some content into resources and create a test and create a forum topic and assignment just so that you can practice using each of those tools. And then what you'll do after that is the real work, which involves, building some lessons using Lesson Builder. So I am actually going to open part of the demo content to share with you just a little outline that an instructor might have for their course. And so you kind of think about how you want to organize your Lesson Builder pages. The first question to answer is, well, do you want to have each unit exist as a top-level page in the left-hand navigation menu, or do you want to have one instance of Lesson Builder in the left-hand navigation menu of your course, and then have multiple subpages, and then second-level subpages and third-level subpages. So figuring that part out is kind of step one. And so in my case, as I look at this outline that I have for my class, I think what I'd like to do is just have one instance of Lesson Builder in my course, and then I'm going to build these units onto the page as subpages, and then I'm going to build these lessons onto the page as second-level subpages. So, oh my gosh, that looks like kind of a task. For the purposes of this demonstration, I am only going to do Units 1 and maybe part of Unit 2, but this goes all the way out to Unit 3 if you'd like to do that. So, okay, I'm going to go back to my demo instance, and I'll log out of my student ID and log in as an instructor, and I'm going to use, like I said, I already did the first part of the exercise, so I created a course called Course Playground, and I put an assignment in there and a test in there, and there's a forum in there. So what I really get to do now is just focus on Lesson Builder. So my Lesson Builder tool appears kind of towards the bottom of the screen, and you know what? I'd really like to change that. So I'm going to use the Page Order Helper tool in my site info area to just kind of scooch that Lesson Builder tool up to the, well, maybe it should go below the syllabus. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So, and in fact, if you want to use the Lesson Builder tool to just create a syllabus, you can do that too. That might actually be interesting and helpful, because then on that syllabus page that you build using Lesson Builder, you can just embed all of the required things that the students have to do. So now I have clicked on Lessons, and I have a Lesson Builder page. And so on my Lesson Builder page, what I would like to do is create some subpages, and I will eventually make those required pages, but I'd like to create some subpages. So I will, using, oh, where's my subpage button? There it is. Using Add Subpage, create some subpage. subpages. So we'll call this Unit 1, Lesson 1. I realize I'm going through this kind of quickly. It's just that I don't want you guys to get too bored watching me add subpages after subpages after subpage. So we're going to just add these 4. Yep, there we go. Oops. See, look, I messed that up already. I did this the first time I tried to use Lesson Builder too. So let's reorganize myself. We'll go with, there we go. I didn't even see my flower bouncing with comments. Nobody noticed that I was messing that up? So there we go. So we'll create some subpages for my units. Oops. So I'm having some trouble with this. Well, you know what? I can type faster than I can deal with that. So okay. And I have Unit 3, turning service failures around. Okay. So I guess your decision to have your units, whatever you might call them, units, modules, weeks, appear as subpages or have them appear over on the left-hand side of the navigation menu kind of depends on how long they are. So like if I actually had this Unit 1 with its title in the left-hand navigation menu, it would look like a big fat tool on the left-hand side of the screen. And so if you have too many of those, it starts to push all the other tools down so that the students can't see them. That's kind of why I like to just have one instance of the Lesson Builder tool and then have everything else appear as subpages. So then, okay, so I'm going to build my Unit 1 lessons as subpages on the subpage. So we've got second level subpages. Now I was able to copy this before, so there we go. So we've got a subpage here. Now I'm going to go back. I'm using my breadcrumb trail up at the top of the screen. This was not immediately apparent to me that I should use that when I first started using Lesson Builder, but it's really helpful when you are organizing your materials. So I'm going to add another subpage, and we'll call it this one. There we go. And so I could spend a lot more time adding pages and subpages and so forth, but I think this is going to be enough. I've just clicked on the index of pages, so as an instructor I can kind of look through my index of pages and make sure that I've organized everything correctly. So we have one iteration of the lessons tool that's top level page, we have a subpage, we have a couple of second level subpages, and I think that's good enough at least for the demonstration purposes. So I'm going to go back to return to my lesson and see what my instructions say to do at this point. So it looks like on the Unit 1, Lesson 1, a perfect product page, I am supposed to put a couple of things on that page. And one of those things is a short introduction to the lesson, which I am supposed to just make up. Okay, so to do that, I am going to, there we go, add some text first using this Add Text button up at the top. So this is where you would just enter text, or if you have an image, you can certainly embed images. So in my case, I think I'm going to use one of the templates that is available in the Sakai text editor. And so I'm going to go find an image, and I'm going through this part pretty quickly. I realize that, and I think that, that's mostly because just about everyone here has some experience with Sakai, and so, picking an image using the, text editor tool is, I think, something that most of you are already familiar with. So I'm going to write some text here, and I'll save that. And then I'm going to add some multimedia next. I happen to know that that is the next task on my list. So I've got a YouTube video, And I've got a URL for that YouTube video that I could just copy and paste. So I'll use this add multimedia function to do that. Here's where you can choose something that you have already uploaded or browse for a multimedia file that you have on your computer and upload that. So I'll save that. Uh-oh, I got a nasty little error right there. Let me see if I can make that go away and try again. Okay. Oh, well, that hasn't happened before. Interesting. Let me just make sure my instance is still kind of up and working. Yeah, it looks like it is. So, well, I do hope you believe that I used this tool to embed images before. Seems I'm having some trouble with YouTube in general today. So, at any rate, I am going to kind of skip that part, but I hope that you'll at least believe that you can embed YouTube videos using the Add Multimedia tool. Another tool that you can use, or another item that you can build onto a lesson builder page, is a resource that you have perhaps uploaded into resources, or you can embed a URL for a resource. And so I have helpfully added some clip art to my resources. So I'm going to select that. And so now my students have access to view this particular type of resource, which is the JPEG file. Of course, you can upload kind of anything into your resources tool and link to that item from within the Lesson Builder tool. I also have the option to add another subpage as an item on this page. And here's where the cool stuff starts. So this Add Assignment button is the assignment that allows me to not only pick an assignment that I have already built in Sakai and published, but I can also just create a new assignment on the fly right from within, or at least I can launch that opportunity from within the Lesson Builder tool. So if I didn't already have an assignment in here, I could just create it using the Assignments tool. But I do have an assignment here, so I'm just going to use that, and that's going to get itself embedded right here. So I'm actually going to remove this YouTube thing right now because it's making my page look ugly. Okay, that looks better. So I've embedded a link to a file, I've added some text, I've added an assignment. Now I'm going to add a quiz. I'm not exactly following the outline, but just in the interest of time, I want to make sure we get to everything. So in this case, I'm going to embed a quiz that I've already built, and maybe I'll just embed a forum as well. So we'll add a forum topic. So the first step was to organize your lessons and just build the blank pages. The second step is to go to the various pages that you're trying to build and start putting items on those pages. The third step is to start creating rules about items and about the pages. And so I'm going to go back to this first Unit 1 page. Now this is kind of a first level subpage from within the Lessons tool. And I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to click the Edit button, and this page is going to be required. So what this is saying here is that in order for a student to be allowed to do anything that appears after this page in the sequence and within the table of contents or within the index of pages, they have to at least look at this page. I'm requiring this item. So I'm going to update that. So that's great. So this item becomes required, but it's not actually going to be required until you start setting conditions on the pages that follow it. So what that means is that once I've defined Unit 1, Lesson 1 as a required page, I have to go to Unit 1, Lesson 2 and say, hey, don't release this until all the prerequisites are completed. So you can define an item as an item that's required. You can define an item as something that is, not released until prerequisites are completed, or you could do both. So here I am saying, don't release this until all prerequisites are completed, but also this is going to be required. This is going to be a requirement for the next unit. And so if I had built Unit 1 Lesson 3, I could then go to Unit 1 Lesson 3 and say, oh, by the way, don't let anyone access this until they've completed some requirements. So I should say that you can, I mean, in addition to requiring pages or lesson builder pages, you can also require items. So I can say that this assignment is a requirement, and I can say that the students are not allowed to move past this very assignment until they've received at least 5 points on the assignment. So I can get that detailed. So now, so in my example just before where I was making pages required, I was basically saying you can't move on to the next page until you finish this page. What I'm saying here is that, you know, this is going to be a required item, this assignment, and if I start not releasing or clicking the don't release option on some of these other items that follow the assignment, that means that the students on this very page must complete the assignment first before they're allowed to get to the midterm, or before they're allowed to access the midterm. Now, I think we had a comment earlier about, you know, students needing access to the tests and quizzes tool in order to complete their tests and quizzes and get the feedback that they get through that particular tool. And so you might run into some issues there. But I mean, as far as the way that the lesson builder functions, you can set requirements, you can set prerequisites, and you can be just very specific with these requirements depending on the type of item that you're setting requirements on. So I have just said that this midterm is going to be required, that students have to get at least 5 points on it, and that the students need to complete this assignment before they're even going to be allowed to access the midterm. So order matters here. So if you realize, oh, oops, I wanted them to complete the midterm before they completed the assignment, you can just use this reorder feature to reorder the items that appear on your screen. And that kind of changes the rules a little bit because, like I said, when you're setting up requirements, order matters. I could, in fact, just go back to my unit page and reorder these units around, and order would matter, and then I could really kind of mess some stuff up if I actually did that. So I'm not actually going to do that, but I think I'm going to, before I show you the link to forums tool, I'm going to check in and see if there are some more questions that need to be answered. So one question, yes, there are quite a few. So someone's asking about whether the lessons can be imported into new sites. Do the links to assignments and tests work properly if they are imported? So the answer to your first question is yes. You can use duplicate site as well as import from site to pull your lessons from source site into target site. However, there have been quite a few issues with links breaking. I think, you know, that has been an issue with Sakai. It's not necessarily a lesson builder issue. It's been kind of a Sakai issue with repurposing or reusing your content from one site to the next. So I have found lesson builder to be pretty helpful, though. I remember I was trying to build a course site that needed to be duplicated that had a lot of links to forums. So we were using lesson builder to display the content, and then we were requiring that students go participate in a forum, and that was kind of the flow of that particular instance of the lesson builder tool. So when we duplicated the site, all of the content, you know, appeared in the new site, but the links to the forum said, hey, you know, you need to fix this link because this, you know, this is linking to the old site, and you need to link to the right forum in the new site. So so there is a problem with site duplication. So when you duplicate or you import from site, there is going to be some manual work involved in getting that cleaned up. So let's see. And here's another question. In Counting 301, you had units on the left nav bar. Did you do something to suppress navigation inside Lesson Builder? I noticed that within the Lesson Builder units, you could not navigate from one unit to the next or access a table of contents. So in the Accounting 301 course, I basically I didn't do anything special except for, I created these lesson builder items as top level pages. So that was a feature. It is a feature within the More Tools area. So you can say add more or add new top level pages. You can get to the index of pages from the top level pages, but when I went to the index of pages before as a student, I only saw the first one because I wasn't allowed yet to view the other pages because I hadn't completed that first page yet. So that was probably why you saw that. But you are right, there is no previous and next button, and that's essentially because the previous and next button kind of work within the subpages that you build within Lesson Builder, but as far as I can tell, you can't use the previous and next button to jump to the next top level Lesson Builder page. So, and I'm sure there's probably a requirement and reason for the way that is, but I don't know what that is. So, let's see. If someone says the Apache Tomcat error is something I see quite often, really discourages people to use Sakai. Does anyone know what causes this HTTP status 404 error? I can't answer what caused that in my example because I was using a real YouTube video link for my example. But we do see that a lot in Sakai when instructors reuse content from site to site. So like a lot of instructors are getting used to like learning how to embed the absolute URL for a resource in their content so that when they duplicate a site, the absolute URL in their content remains and is still pointing to the old site. And so you get into a situation where students see these 404 errors and instructors don't, and everybody's confused because the instructor's like, well, it's right there. I don't know why you don't see it. And the student's like, well, I don't see it. So that actually happens really frequently, and so I know that's one cause of that issue. Someone's asking, can audio and video files from the media gallery be used in lessons? And I think you might be asking about the media gallery that is the Kaltura media gallery and Sakai integration. And I know that's a sort of contributed integration that not everybody has. I don't know the answer to that. I know that there is supposed to be, for those of you who do have Kaltura integrated with your Sakai implementation, a link to or an option to embed Kaltura content within the rich text editor. And so I would say if that feature is working in your rich text editor, then yes, you can embed Kaltura content in Lesson Builder for sure, because you're just using the rich text editor to add text and embed Kaltura content. However, I don't actually know if you would be able to, I mean, maybe if the Kaltura content has like an absolute URL or something like that, you could paste that in and give it a try, but I have not tried that. Someone wants to know what's the best way to embed a SCORM package? Ha, well, that's a really good question. So SCORM packages are essentially packages that kind of run and play on their own. So the last time I had to use or embed SCORM packages in Lesson Builder, what we did was we uploaded the SCORM package into resources because we were using the Ristisi SCORM Cloud integration with resources. And so the Ristisi SCORM Cloud, of course, is another sort of third-party tool that integrates with Sakai. I mean, it costs extra. It's a proprietary tool, and you kind of like have to pay. You have to pay a little bit each time a student accesses a SCORM package. But so anyway, to answer your question, if you're using the Ristisi SCORM Cloud, you have to upload the SCORM content into resources, and then you would actually not embed it in Lesson Builder because you can't really embed SCORM. It's designed to open and play in its own window and track student progress and so forth. You could certainly link to it, like with the Add Resources button in Lesson Builder, and then the students could click on it and it would open the new window and play the SCORM package. I was actually working with a company that ended up building a way to embed the SCORM packages in Lesson Builder so that they played right on screen. It involved a lot of like crazy code, but I think it actually ended up working. I don't think that's something that's available to the community, though. I think that client decided that they wanted to own that code, so but it is possible. Okay, so someone's asking, is it possible to embed HTML5 in Lesson Builder? And you know, I have to say I am not an HTML expert, and so I'm afraid I do not know the answer to that one. So, but I would not want to stop you from trying. So I would use I mean, if you're going to embed any type of HTML, and to answer the next question that came in, someone asked about HTML iframes. You know, I just don't know if that's allowed within, and I'm saying I don't. So there's no feature that would allow you to, you know, embed HTML5 or iframes. However, the add text feature, as you know, if you've used the rich text editor tool, does allow you to toggle over to the source code. So you might try, you know, entering some HTML in there if you know HTML and seeing if that's allowed or not. But I don't think I can answer that definitively. Okay, so let's see. So here is a comment from somebody who uses Lesson Builder. They've said, I don't use require release, since 1, you have to document well what you want your students to do, and 2, you had better be very logical and test your student requirements so they actually get to all of the required tasks. That is a very good point. In fact, that's part of the last bit of advice that I typically give at the end of a webinar when you're learning something new is, once you build something for your students, you should test that before you start giving your students access to it. So log in as a student and go to the lessons tool and make sure that you're allowed to see and do all of the things that you're supposed to be allowed to see and do, because you know, if you aren't able to get that set up correctly, then that'll cause a lot of frustration for your students. Okay, so here's another update from the this is about the newer version of Lesson Builder. So Lessons Copy works now. Formerly links to images and files didn't work, but that now works. And the assignments copy links work, but they are in draft mode. Forums are in draft mode, and tests are not published. Yeah, and that's a typical Sakai feature when you copy a course from, or duplicate a course, or import content from one site to the next. All of your assignments, all of your forums, and all of your assessments appear in draft mode. So here's another question. If I upload a SCORM package with questions, can the results and grades be sent to Gradebook? Wow, you know, I think I should do a Ristisi and Sakai integration webinar, because we're getting a lot of good questions about SCORM packages. So it happens, I happen to know about the Ristisi SCORM player, so I can answer that question. If you upload a package with questions, can the results be sent to the Gradebook? They can be through the assignments tool. So Ristisi does integrate with Sakai assignments, and so you can cause a SCORM package or the participation in a SCORM package to be an assignment in the Sakai assignments tool. And if, as you're setting up that assignment within the assignments tool with that SCORM package, then you can cause that assignment to appear in the Gradebook using the Add to Gradebook button. So great. Okay, so we're doing well. We haven't really lost anybody. We've still got 34 people on the line, so fantastic. Okay, so I think that's the end of the questions for now. I was about to show you another feature or tool. So this feature or tool is the tool that allows you to add a forum topic, and so much like adding an assignment or adding an assessment or a test or a quiz, you can add a forum topic using the Add Forum Topic, and you can add that to any page. And you can also choose to create a new topic using the Forums tool right from within Lesson Builder. So I'm going to add this forum topic here. So now I've got a little forum topic, and I can, just like with a lot of the other items that appear on my page, set some requirements here. So I can not release this until all prerequisites are done, and I can choose to require that the student submit a post to this topic before they're going to be allowed to move on. So, so we've seen a lot of lesson builder tools. We've seen how to build pages. So again, just to kind of review the order anyway that I think is most helpful in terms of building your lesson builder content is, I would say, to start with the structure. Build your pages and your subpages and kind of organize those first. Then after you do that, build your items onto the pages. And the items can be text, it can be multimedia, it can be any of these interesting things, and even subpages can be items on a page. So if I wanted to right here, I could just build a subpage right onto this page. I'm not going to do that right now. So you build your sort of outline and your pages and get that organized. Then you add your content onto your pages, and then I would say after that, look at all of the items that you've built onto the page and decide which of those are going to be required, and then you can use your edit feature next to any item that appears on a page, and you can cause that item to be a prerequisite or a required page and so forth. So that was kind of the really sort of quick and dirty lesson builder demo training. And again, we do offer more extensive training, or can offer more extensive training on lesson builder if your school is interested. This was kind of designed to be more of an instructional demo to at least get everybody started with using lesson builder. So I hope we have at least done that for you. I am going to toggle back over to the PowerPoint presentation because I'm sure there is something on here that I have forgotten to share with you. Oh, yeah, here we go. And I'll take more questions at the end, by the way. So if you have more questions, please feel free to enter those into the question queue. But the question regarding where can you experiment with Lesson Builder, I know not everybody has Lesson Builder installed or available yet on their Sakai instance. Maybe you're not on the latest version, or maybe your school has chosen to keep that off for now. But you can experiment with Lesson Builder at various other sites. So I've got friends at Unicon and AsahiNet and Longsight. Each of those companies has some type of demo site that you can use to kind of test Sakai and try some of the new tools in Sakai. And so you can sign up for an account at any of these sites, and you'll be able to access Lesson Builder and play with it. If you want the materials for this presentation, if you want to use some of the sample materials that I have available to complete the exercise that you can also download, that's on this PowerPoint presentation, those are available at my website, brutuspartners.com. So just click the free training content tab. It's pretty bare right now because I haven't done that many trainings yet, but as I do more, I'll start adding more sample materials and more recordings. As well, if you want to watch the recording of this session, or you want to share the recording with a friend, you will be able to access that within, I would say, 48 hours, also at the brutuspartners.com website. If you want to see the demo courses that I built, then you can go to brutustraining.com, and you can just use the new account tool on the left-hand side of the screen to sign up for a new account. I actually kind of reset the content and the users on this site pretty frequently. So if you do want to see some of the content, I would suggest looking at it sometime within the next day or two, because you might discover in a week or so that you're no longer able to log in. So okay, I think we're just about done. I am going to take questions at the end, but I did want to share with everyone that this is Kara from Brutus Partners. I started a new business doing Sakai training, and so if you or any of your friends are interested in Sakai training, please feel free to check out the website. And there is going to be a survey at the end of this webinar, and so if you could send me some feedback about how you experienced this training, if you thought it was helpful or not, I encourage both positive as well as constructive feedback. So thanks for attending, and I think at this point I'm going to check the question queue and see what everyone else has to say. So we've got another question about broken links. Even though links created using Lesson Builder no longer break, if you embed a link to a resource in the content editor in Lesson Builder, it will still point back to the original resource if Lesson Builder instance is imported or duplicated. You know, I've had a lot of, or I've been involved in a lot of discussion in the teaching and learning group about site duplication and Lesson Builder and what works and what doesn't, and it seems to be true that everyone has had a different experience. And I think this might just have to do with the version that you're using. I don't want to immediately blame it on that, but I think we are kind of all on different versions of Sakai at this point, and so we are probably having a somewhat inconsistent experience using the duplicate site tool, which I think is really encouraging because that means, you know, that this is clearly something that the developers of this tool are working on and making better from version to version. So I do see that as good news. So here's another suggestion. I strongly suggest loading resources before linking to files and images. Otherwise, lessons will generate resource folders for you, and resources can get confusing for you and other instructors to maintain. Yes, that is true. Thank you for reminding me about that. I don't think I shared that with anybody, which is that you know, for certain types of content that you add to Lesson Builder, you are going to find that some resource folders get created automatically for you. And again, you know, I think I mentioned hiding things like assignments and so forth before. You can, as an instructor, hide the resources tool so that the students don't see this, but this can start to get a little bit confusing for instructors because it's like, hey, wait a minute, I already built these things using Lesson Builder, so why are they all showing up in resources? And I think a couple of weeks ago on one of the Sakai teaching and learning calls, we had a great suggestion that came from Jan Smith from Three Canoes, who said, look, can't you just create like one parent folder at least in resources to house all of these Lesson Builder tools? And you know, it's suggestions like that that the teaching and learning group in Sakai is you know, really interested in getting. And so if you would like to get involved in the teaching and learning group and you know, some of the work and enhancements that we're kind of requesting of the developers for Lesson Builder, please feel free to join that teaching and learning group. There is a listserv or an email list that you can sign up for. It's called the pedagogy list or the teaching and learning list, and they meet, I think, at 2 o'clock, from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, just about every Wednesday. And I think Josh Barron is still kind of the one who's in charge of that particular group. So another note, Charles Hedrick, he's the Lesson Builder developer, just fixed that link problem for 2.9. We asked for the fix to be applied to our instance, where links pointed back to the original source. So that is great news, and it's really encouraging to see, you know, as folks are creating requests and enhancements that the developers are responding. Okay, someone asked, can you please show how to hide the assignments tool? Sure, I can show you how to do that. So that is a feature of the Site Info tool. If you go to Site Info and then select Page Order, the Page Order helper is going to display a list of all of the things that appear in the left-hand navigation menu, and if you want to hide the assignments tool, you can just click on the little light bulb icon and turn the little light bulb gray, and then make sure you save. And what that'll do is put the assignments tool in italics. So anything that's in italics is something that is hidden from students. Here's another question. Is there any way to limit Lesson Builder to just one top-level page? I think you're meaning if you just want instructors to only have one top-level page and not create multiple top-level pages. I think if you're giving instructors update rights to Lesson Builder, I think they do have the ability to create more than one top-level page. There might be some sneaky, tricky permissions, you know, creative tasks that you could perform that would disallow instructors from doing that, but as far as I know, that is not a feature of the tool. Here's another note. We had a workaround for broken links for those using the CK editor to link to files and images. Use add multimedia in lessons. Those links copy correctly in 2.9. This is pretty odd, but the CK editor was another layer that lessons had to deal with. Yes, okay, thank you for that. So excellent questions, everybody, and we're also getting a lot of excellent suggestions from folks who have used Lesson Builder before. So, I want to thank everybody who has been contributing with both questions and their comments. I think we are right at 3:15, so we're about 15 minutes shy of the scheduled time. These trainings typically last about 1 hour, but I always book an hour and a half because I don't want to leave anyone disappointed with having to stay on if the event runs long. So I think it is okay to go ahead and end the webinar a little bit early. We're at 3:15, and I do want to thank everybody for coming. I really appreciate it, and please at the end of the webinar, once I close it, you'll be provided with an opportunity to give feedback, and I would like some feedback about your experience today. So again, thank you very much, everybody, and perhaps I will see you at a Sakai conference sometime in the future. Thank you.